Okay, so first of all, let me start off by conveying our appreciation to the management team of this demonstration farm. And I also want to convey my appreciation to all the members of the Youth Coalition for SDGs in Uganda, as well as my colleagues from the UN country team in Uganda, in particular the representative of UNDP and the country representative of FAO who are with me. Now, why do we find ourselves here today? I believe that we find ourselves here for three reasons. The first one is because of the Sustainable Development Goals. The Sustainable Development Goals is a global call that was adopted by 193 member states of the UN when Uganda was a president of the General Assembly. And one of the most important aspects of that agenda is a call to help countries adapt the aspirations of the Sustainable Development Goals. So that leads us to point number two, which is Uganda is the second youngest nation on earth. Right now, with more than 78% of its population below the age of 30, and more than 51% of its population being female. So you cannot talk about achieving the Sustainable Development Goals agenda without the youth. So we are very excited that in 2018 we began a discussion with the government about creating spaces for Sustainable Development Goals to be discussed, recognized, and implemented in the country. And in 2019 we had our first competition for SDGs, and we were really excited that the first generation of 19 youth with SDG innovations were selected and voted in by their peers. And that is how we started the Youth SDG Coalition. The same year, we also, for the first time as the United Nations, we were invited to make a presentation to Cabinet on the SDGs, which I did. And as a result of that presentation, two very important decisions were made, actually three. The first was the designation of the Minister of General Duties in OPM as the focal point Minister for SDGs. The second was the establishment of the National SDG Secretariat, which has become a home for the Youth SDG Coalition. And the third was the agreement that going forth, October 24th, would be a national celebration done jointly by the government and people of Uganda with the UN to celebrate SDGs. So this led us to last year, 2020, when the Youth SDG Coalition made an appeal to me as the RC to help them increase the opportunities for young people across Uganda to share their solutions. And that is how we helped them to launch the 1 million SDG Innovation Challenge, which is basically, if you have a solution, no matter which part of the country you're from, you can put it up there. We leave it open for about 6 months. We then sit down and look at the best solutions, and we help people get visibility as a result. I'm proud to note that we had over 500 applications last year. 38 were chosen as the top performers, and we send letters introducing them to the development partners. I am particularly excited that as we sit here today to be with UNDP and FAO in particular, because these are two agencies who embraced these youth who are coming up from these solutions and help them to turn their dreams into reality. So this brings us to the third point as to why we're here today. In one of my updates with His Excellency the President, I brought his attention that there's a group of youth who are actively working on their own to bring the SDGs to life. They have their own organizations, they have their own companies, but this is a voice that is not being heard. And he agreed to have an interaction with the group himself, to get to know them, to get to hear them, and to see if a partnership could be established. And we were able to go last week with 25 out of the 35 current standing members, as well as 2 of the mentors, to meet His Excellency the President. And he was amazed and excited to meet such a dynamic group of young people who have their own organizations, their own enterprises, their own NGOs, but who also had real life problems and real life solutions, I believe. He endorsed the 4 key areas that we presented to him, and as a follow-up to that conversation, he made a suggestion to us to make 3 real life visits to see how we can build upon what these youth are already doing. So actually this is just phase 1. And we thought that was very important as the United Nations to accompany the youth during this visit so that we can decide together how to take this forward. So before I step aside and let my colleagues come in, let me jump to that last question. Is this too expensive? For a person, maybe. But we're not talking about individual investment. We're talking about community investment. We're talking about the Youth SDG Coalition becoming a community of practice, a community of entrepreneurs and organization leaders. So if you are a community, this can be done. And this becomes an attractive offer for the UN and for other partners to help bring this knowledge to life close to where the people are. And as some of you were saying as we were visiting today, you are the fortunate ones. There are some youth who don't even have access. So the question is, how can we replicate this out in the region so that other youth who can make it to Kampala, who can't get to meet UNDP or FAO or myself, can also benefit from this knowledge and bring agribusiness to life. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Rosa. We'll go to Madam Elsie. Thank you so much for accompanying the youth. In your opinion, why do you think it's important to expose youth that are representing other youth to such ventures?